Welcome to NewsOK.com. I am Jacob Unruh here from the NewsOK studios, live with the Dodgers update, joined by the voice of the Dodgers via Skype, Alex Friedman, who is currently on the road with the Dodgers. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're currently in Tacoma. A little different change of scenery, West Coast trip. How is the team getting ready for this after an off day?
Well, I think in this series, it's nice, to be able to come here this late in the season. It's 68 degrees right now, under cloudy skies, and I think the high is going to be, somewhere in the low 80s. So that'll be nice. I think the more challenging part of this trip is going to be the second part in Reno, because that's an extreme hitter's park. This is a Dodgers team that has been pitching very well of late. And it's very similar to that of, say, Colorado Springs or Las Vegas, or one of the really hitter-friendly parks in our league. So I think these first three games, it'll be pretty similar. Tacoma's a pretty neutral place, neutral park. The Rainiers have been struggling a bit. We'll see if that continues here now that they're back home. But I think, again, the challenging part is going to be the second part in Reno.
I want to get to the pitching in a second, but one thing I think is interesting, Bill Hassman lives in Washington. He's in that area. How much does he enjoy going back to Tacoma?
Well, it's funny because his wife and his daughter are in Oklahoma City. They're leaving for good, like at the end of the month, so they're actually not here. His son's playing college ball. So he's just, I think he said the only night he planned on staying at home was last night when we got here, because it's about, I don't know, probably 20, 30 minutes away from Tacoma. So it's nice, but as he told me, he's just pretty much planning on going, walking in the house, making sure that everything still works, and probably not spending a whole lot of time there, which was kind of funny.
You mentioned the pitching. Obviously, Brock Stewart pitches tonight. Manny Benuelos has pitched really well this season. Drew Hutchison, but I saw yesterday Drew Hutchison opt out. What about this pitching staff right now is standing out to you?
Well, it's starting pitching, and you just mentioned three starting pitchers, and you look at June and the early part of July. I mean, there's just such a stark contrast between the effectiveness of the starting pitching. Even though there hasn't been a whole lot of turnover, there have been some guys who have maybe come up and bounce back and forth between OKC and Tulsa. But for the most part, it's just been getting more effective starts on a regular basis from the Stewarts, from the Benueloses, who had been struggling until his last outing. And then Hutchison, who was outstanding. 4 straight scoreless starts out of the All-Star break. But as you mentioned, took an opt-out in his contract, which makes total sense. He had been on a roll. Probably, there's the communication with the Dodgers. Probably just didn't have a role for him at the big league level. So certainly he's been pitching well enough to get back to the big leagues. He began this year with the Philadelphia Phillies. So I would expect him to be picked up relatively soon by a team that is not in a playoff race right now. But it probably might be a minor league deal to start, but with that, after a couple outings or so, we'll be back up there. So yeah, it's just the starting has been the big thing. Zach Neal, his addition has been huge, because that's a guy who, not necessarily has, wow stuff, but what you're going to get from him every single time out. He's going to give you 5, 6, maybe even 7 solid innings, throw strikes, and again, give your bullpen a chance to rest.
Looking ahead a little bit, you guys return on Thursday next week, the 9th, from the road trip. You play a 4-game series against Memphis. That team's got a new look. The Cardinals have made a ton of moves. But the big thing is you've got all kinds of promotions that week. What do you have going on that weekend just in those 4 games? Seems like a full schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have a stretch of, I guess it'll end up being 11 of 14 games or 15 games on the road. To pack a lot in that time on a weekend there against Memphis. It starts with the $2 Thursday. Then Friday night is our annual Pack the Park Pink Night, which is awesome, presented by MidFirst Bank. Players will be wearing the pink jerseys for all breast cancer awareness. We encourage all fans to wear pink that night. The jerseys will be auctioned off to help benefit the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And then the next night, another community-related event, great event we have a couple times per season, the Hometown Heroes military celebration event. So a lot of folks from Tinker, a lot of other military families will be at our ballpark that night. And it winds up with a Chaparral Energy Family Sunday on Sunday. So, again, a lot going on, all sorts of other promotions and whatnot and special group deals. You can always go to our website at OKCDodgers.com to get all the details. And like you mentioned, it's a Memphis team that pretty much has their division wrapped up, but St. Louis Cardinals have made some curious moves the last couple of days. And as a result, they're going to look a bit different because we played them a bunch in May. 3 of our 4 series of the year came in May within a very compressed period of time. So for a change, I think Oklahoma City will be the team that doesn't have as many changes as their opponent.
Yeah, you mentioned the changes, Cardinals. The trade deadline just passed. OKC wasn't really that affected too much by it. Lost just a few players. A little different than in the past, wouldn't you say?
A little bit, yeah, I think so. I mean, unfortunately, I guess from Tulsa's standpoint, they got hit pretty hard. And that's how it goes. The goal is to win World Series championships, and the Dodgers made some moves to do what they need. I don't think they're done. I think there will be another move or two made here in August, and now that it changes a little bit, having to go through waivers. Was surprised a reliever was not added. I really thought that just me speaking, Jake Diekman of the Texas Rangers, I thought was a great fit, a good lefty reliever that I think really could have helped the Dodgers out. He goes to the Diamondbacks instead. I don't know, obviously, how involved in talks they were, but like you said, really relatively untouched roster due to the trade deadline, and it was interesting having the day off yesterday during the trade deadline day. I liked it a lot. Instead of going to that day being like, well, this is our lineup now. We don't know if it's going to be our lineup past 3 o'clock. So that was nice to have. And I mean, like me, and I'm sure everybody else, just glued to the phones, and computers, waiting for updates all day long.
Yeah, it was, and it all came rapid fire there right as we got close to 3 o'clock Central Time here. It was pretty interesting. All of a sudden the Dodgers land Brian Dozier, John Axford, and you just start looking, thinking. I told my wife, I was with her, and I said, hey, I got to check, make sure none of these guys are coming from Oklahoma City, just in case. And but I was really shocked that none of these guys were coming from Oklahoma City. But like I said, I think with the waiver deadline, still a month away, I think that there could be some moves there. Well, Alex, listen, I won't keep you much longer. I know you're in your hotel and you've got a game coming up in a few hours. Appreciate you joining us, and stick with newsok.com to get the best Dodgers coverage in the state.